Today we are going to be going over the swordier ranger sword. This is one I've wanted to go over since I got it a couple of weeks ago, but I had yet to have the time to do so. A lot of things been going on in my personal life. There's certain events that I need to go to that I am unable to find an excuse not to go to, so I had to put it off for a while. Most of what I've been doing has been the backlog for that. But now I am able to finally go over it in detail, and even for once able to do a sword test demo. So first impressions of this, it's probably one of the coolest swords I have, but now it's dethroned, decrowned just about every single other one I have, and that's pretty obvious when you start realizing whose sword it was copied off of. For those who don't know, this is the first sword we see Aragorn using in the first two movies for Lord of the Rings and some of Return of the King. It is his ranger sword or Stryders sword. This one is a battle-ready replica that Swordier makes. It retails for close to $400. That's what I remember off the top of my head. I'll put a link down in the description as well as a price right here. And the current weight right here. My guesstimate, I've done pretty well with this so far, is I'd say close to 3 to 3.5 pounds within that range. We'll also have that down below to correct me. This is not a single-handed sword. It is very obviously a two-hander. For the just light swings, it's very awkward on the wrist. So the first impression there is it's obviously a two-handed longsword, not single-handed. Sheath. Very nice. I am very pleased with the fact that they sent one. Hey, you've smelled that before. I'm very pleased with the fact that they sent one of this quality with it. I mean, it's getting better these days of getting swords to come with any kind of quality sheath at this point. You're no longer seeing as many of them with the really cheap fake leather or faux leather sheaths I used to see 10 years ago. It's a wooden core with a leather wrap, and I don't want to say crude stitching in the back, but it's not as fancy as some of the other swords I have seen and own, where they try to do a little tighter with the stitching. This stitching, it looks like they use single thread to go through, which nothing wrong with that. It does work. It just looks different. It's probably nylon thread or string, so it is going to be quite strong. It's not going to come unraveled or break easy, so that's a plus. It does have a sword cap on it to protect it from just dragging on the ground and getting nicked, so that is always a plus for me. The official replica, if I remember correctly, I think it does have a metal cap that goes around the opening of the sheath to help protect it a little further. This one does not, but that's not a detractor for me. It also comes with a fairly nice, as you saw, sword hanger for the belt that can go on to any belt, and it's properly balanced for when the sword is in, and even when the sword is not. It doesn't want to flop down forward. It wants to hang down low. Something I did notice was the cap on the end of the sheath is somewhat weighted, so that does help when wearing the sword on your belt, especially when you draw the sword. It keeps it from flipping upside down or getting awkward. Keeps the one hanging at a constant downward state. So going over first impressions of the sword, it's very nicely done. It doesn't have a very extreme distal taper like some of the other ones I have. It's a little less of a distal taper. However, the fuller goes down most of the length of the blade, so that does help remove a lot of weight for the lack of that tight distal taper. Crossguard has a little bit of it reminds me of a rain guard that some swords would have. Usually it's a piece of leather that goes over the top. And the purpose of the rain guard is just what it sounds like. It's protected from the elements so that you don't get a lot of water in the opening of your sheath. The style that this has reminds me of that, though this is not that. It's part of the guard and nothing more than that. They did put some nice golden wire highlights on the two side wings of the guard, which is very nice for a little more decoration in the sword. The pommel is a nice weight, and they did a very good job, as always, pinning over the pommel and leaving you a spacer there so that if there's ever repairs that you need to make in the future, it's easy to do. First impressions for how I'd rank it, this one is similar to the Witcher sword. This one is a 10 out of 10. I have no complaints. It feels nice in hand, it's easy to swing, and I've actually started doing sword drills with it as it's a little heavier than some of my other swords. Because of that, it's a little nicer for working out the different muscle groups in the shoulders, the arms, and the back to just generally put you through a decent regime of exercise for training. So, after the first impressions, we are now going to go into a little bit of a cutting test. I have a 3x4 piece of pine wood that I'm just going to be trying to hack away on with a few different swings, just see what kind of damage it can do to the wood, as well as what kind of damage it'll do to the sword. If I can figure out a cutting test, I'll also do that as well, just for how nice it feels. Not sure if it'll be a bad idea to be mic'd up while I'm doing this, but we'll try. That's actually pretty nice. Let's try a little more. That felt awkward. That's on me. I am not seeing any damage whatsoever on this blade. You know, after the experience I had with the one arming sword of mine, I am quite pleased with the lack of damage to this. I mean, the blade is not even showing any nicks. A little bit of scuffing on the polish of the steel, but nothing. So I'm going to see what I can round up for a cutting test now. So I don't really have anything to set this on, so I'm going to have to settle for my handgun stand. Alrighty. Sprite bottle is good armor when full of water. The sword did come sharpened. I think it's because it's too thick of a plastic, because it was biting into that wood pretty well. So I'm probably not going to be able to get through this. I will do that though. Let's see if I can cut sideways. I can see it somewhat tried to cut, but maybe water bottle plastic is just too thick. Cut across there. So there's that. So no cutting test this time. So for now, we'll have to call that good on this one. My opinion on this sword still remains the same. 10 out of 10. Easily my favorite. I cannot find anything to complain about it whatsoever. Alrighty, so that was my semi-review of the Strider Longsword Ranger Sword from Swordier. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Any kinds of cutting tests you'd like to see me try. I'm going to see about getting some thinner water bottles, like actual cheap water bottles for cutting, as well as try some pool noodles, see how that goes. I am not doing the tatami mat test because those things are stupid expensive. Other than that, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments. See you in the next one. Take care.